Here we go. Excuse me. So on number 1, all you have to do is cross multiply and solve for x, and you will get that x is equal to 3.33. We are setting up proportions, and proportions are just two equivalent ratios, okay? And number 2, it says the ratio of seniors to juniors in the Key Club is 2 to 3, okay? When we set up a ratio 2 to 3 is just the same. One second. A ratio 2 to 3 is just the same as saying 2 divided by 3. Okay, so 2 to 3 is 2 to 3 is the same as 2 over 3. Okay? And it says the ratio of seniors to juniors. Okay, so seniors to juniors. Seniors to juniors. Okay? So we're going to set up a ratio of seniors over juniors, or we're setting up a proportion of a ratio of seniors to juniors is equal to seniors to juniors. So how would I begin this ratio? 2 represents the seniors, so it would be 2 over 3 is equal to, now does 36 represent juniors or seniors? Seniors, and that means it goes on the top, right? And then we would just have a J here on the bottom for the juniors, because it's seniors over juniors equals seniors over juniors. At this point, we would just cross multiply, and that gives us 2J is equal to 108. And when we divide both sides by 2, we get J is equal to 54. And it's 54 what?
Juniors.
Which one?
Juniors.
Juniors. If you do not put a unit, or if the unit that you put is incorrect, points will be deducted. So please make sure that you identify what we're talking about. Yes, ma'am. J equals 54, you mean?
Yeah.
Because I want you to actually know that what J represents. And if you just write J, I need to know that it represents juniors, okay? All right, so look at number 3. On number 3, it says a race car can travel 2 laps in 5 minutes, okay? How long will it take the car to complete 100 laps at this rate? Amaya, what two things are we comparing in example number 3? Laps and minutes. So we can say laps over minutes is equal to laps over minutes, okay? And Mackenzie, how would I set this up? Very good. 2 over 5. Very good. How did you know to put 100 on the top? Right. Very good. There's an L there. It's 100 laps, okay? The variable won't always go on the bottom. It depends on what we're looking at, okay? Number 4. Oh, I'm sorry. We need to finish this one. We cross multiply here. That gives us 2x is equal to 500. And when we divide both sides by 2, we'll get x is equal to 250. And 250 what? Minutes. Very good. Any questions here? All right. Number 4 says in a certain string ensemble, the ratio of men to women is 5 to 3. If there's a total of 24 people, how many women are there? Okay, so we're not comparing part to part anymore. We're not comparing one thing to another thing. We're comparing part to the whole, okay? What part are we talking about here? What's the part, though? Like, how would you describe the part? Women. Women are the part, so we're comparing women. Guys, this is different, so you want to listen to this one. Women to the total, right? Okay, now over here, does the 5 represent the women, or does the 3 represent the women? The 3 does. So remember, okay, let's do this. So 3 over the total. Look right here. What's the total here, guys?
24.
Wait. I was giving you a big hint. I said, what's the total? 8. Okay? There are 8 different parts, right? So the total consists of those 8 parts. Does that make sense? Okay? And that equals women over total. So where does the 24 go? How do you know it goes in the denominator? Right, 24 is the total. It's not the women, it's the total. So then what goes here? Or I'm just going to use W for women, okay? But you could have used X. You could have put a smiley face if you desired. All right, are you guys with me here?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to do what? Cross multiply, right? And that gives us 8W is equal to what? Divide by 8 and we get W is equal to 9 or 9 women. Do you have a question, Trey? I'm sorry? Any questions here? Okay. I'm sorry? Okay, look at number 5. On number 5, will you read that one, please, Keelan?
The ratio of girls to boys in the class is 3 to 5. The total number of students is 32. How many more boys are there than girls?
Good. Are we comparing part to part or part to whole? What do you think, Keelan? Why do you say that? Okay, hey, time out. Keelan, read it again. You don't have to read it out loud, but just read it again and see if that helps you. Put your hand down, please.
Saying part to whole because it's like 3 to 5. The total number is 32.
Well, it's part to whole because it says the total number, right? So that's how we know that we're comparing it to the whole, okay? So is our part, so we know it's part over total, is our part going to be boys or is it going to be girls, Keelan? In this problem, since it doesn't really matter if we do boys or girls, okay? For this specific problem. So if we did girls, so what would the girls be? Girls 3 over what, Keelan?
3 over 32.
So remember the total. Guys, the total you'd add 3 over 8, right? Equals, and then what goes here? Our part, which I'm going to put a G, right? Because it's really girls. We're comparing girls over the total. And then what goes here? 32. Good. All right. When we cross multiply and solve, what do we get for G? We get G equals 12. So 12 what? 12 girls. Now, is that our answer? Because it doesn't say how many girls are there. It says how many more boys are there than girls. So we need to find out how many boys there are. And how do we do that?
32 minus
Hold on.
12. Yes.
Excuse me. Andrew, how do we find out how many boys there are? Subtract what? Hold on. I'm asking Andrew. Go ahead, Andrew. Take your time.
32 from 12.
All right, and that gives us what, Andrew?
I think it's 20.
So is our answer 20 boys, Andrew?
20 boys. No, it's 8 more guys than girls.
Very good. Absolutely right. Our answer is not 20 boys. It is not 12 girls. It is 8 more boys than girls. It says how many more boys are there than girls. So we would have to subtract the number of girls from the number of boys, and that gives us 8 boys or 8 more boys. So our answer is 8 more boys. Okay? Our answer is 8 more boys. Any questions? Okay. Let's look at number 6. On number 6, would you read that, please, Brianna? Very good. What two things are we comparing here, Brianna? Mm-hmm. So what are the two different things we're looking at? Take your time. If you need to read it again, read it again. Everybody else, I'd suggest you doing this on your own. Read it again. I want you, if you're ready to work this problem, go ahead. You shouldn't be looking around, but looking at your paper. Try. Do the problem, please. 4. Do the problem, please. Right, so what two things are we comparing? Like what two things are we talking about here? It says, well, let's say, hey, it's okay. Sometimes the way it's worded, it can be weird. So what we can do is we can break this up. It gives us a number, and it's talking about 1,400 what, Brianna? Kilowatts. So that's one thing we're talking about, right? And then it says of electricity is 98 what? Dollars. So really, the two things we're comparing are kilowatts and dollars, right? So K over D equals K over D. Does that help? Does it make sense? Okay, now how would I set this up? Could you help me, Talik, please? How would I set up this proportion? Okay. Here? Okay. Over here on the bottom? What does the 2,200 represent? So where does it actually go? Top, good. D on the bottom, good. Do you guys see how we would do this? Okay, so now at this point we're going to what? Cross multiply, and we end up getting that D is equal to what? Yes, sir. Yes, you need, it's going to matter. It doesn't matter if you do K over D or D over K, as long as it's consistent. Does that answer your question, Trey? And then do D over 2,200, that's fine. As long as you make sure that it's K in the top for both and D in the bottom for both, or D in the top for both and K in the bottom for both. Yes, sir. Okay, 154 what? Dollars. So I need a money sign here. Okay? Raise your hand if you have a question. I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to set you guys on your own. Number 7 says the amount of garbage. Read number 7 for me, please. Ford, read number 7, please.
The amount of garbage
Very good. Trey Allen, could you tell us what they're talking about here? What are the two things we're comparing? Garbage and what? Population? What does that mean? Garbage. So, well, let me ask you this. It says that they vary directly, right? Do you know what that means? Does that make sense that it varies directly, that the population or number of people vary directly with the garbage, amount of garbage? What do you think that means? What does it mean for it? What do you guys think it means? Anybody raise your hand before just shouting it out, okay? Jalen. I'm sorry? Well, I'm asking you, what does it mean? If I said that they vary directly, what does that mean? Like, right, it depends on it, right? Is that what you're going to say, Alex?
No, I mean, like it, when something varies directly, it's like when you have 1.3 and you have 2, you have 1 and 2, you have 3,
What things that vary directly mean that is one thing increases, another thing increases, or is one thing decreases, another thing decreases. So does it make sense that the population of a city and the amount of trash they have vary directly? Does that make sense? Why does that make sense? Yes, yes. Why does it make sense that the population of a city and the amount of trash that city has varies directly? Yes, sir.
Because the more of a population, the more trash.
Right. As the population increases, you're going to have more garbage, right? Okay, so it does make sense. And how, David, can you help me how I would set this up? What are the two things we're comparing?
population and how much garbage that population.
Very, absolutely. So how could I set up this proportion, David?
You put 1.3 million
Mm-hmm.
over 26 million compared to 70. That 2.3 million over X.
I'm just going to put a G for garbage, but you're absolutely right. Once we cross multiply and solve, what did we get for G? 146 what? $146,000? The answer is 146,000. 146 what? 146 garbage. Take it. Time out. Guys, excuse me. I want you to understand what you're finding, okay? We're not just talking about garbage. What are we talking about? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. 146 million pounds of garbage. Yes. Go ahead. All right. You need to finish the front of this and then the back as well, and that's what will be your homework. But the front is also part of your homework, so you need to finish the last 3 before you move on to the back. You need to use units, and the answers are on the board behind you in green for the front and dark blue for the back. Yes, sir. You may not listen to music. You may not have your phone out. You may not look at your phone to check the time. Please remember that, okay? Yes, sir. I'm coming. But it's part to whole. I know it's tricky, but let's have this conversation. You finish your work really early. Why don't we use it as like a challenge problem, see if you can figure it out. But go ahead, and then go back and try to do that one on your own. I'm sorry? Hold on one moment, please. Excuse me, I just want to make sure everybody knows that your homework is the front and back of this.